Nelson Jordan. I'm Chris Nelson. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on all of our social media pages, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts so you can get caught up on all of the outstanding content we have out there for you all. We are going to be discussing the Jacksonville Jaguars defeating the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28 with an unbelievable game-winning touchdown in the final seconds. Chiefs were without suspended wide receiver Rashee Rice. The Jacksonville Jaguars were without their former first overall pick, defensive end Trayvon Walker. They lost their starting tight end, Brendan Strange, starting right tackle, and starting center, who they had to replace with a rookie, all in the second half. None of them returned. Nelson, what were your takeaways from what was an outstanding game?
This was a heck of a way to close out the week 5 of the NFL. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars just keep impressing. I think the Jaguars keep exceeding expectations on many people. I think this is the Liam Cohen effect, and you see it. I mean, we didn't. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, yeah, he had one interception on the stat sheet, but if you really see the play, that was a microcosm of things. There could have been a PI debatable, and various other factors as well. But either way, I mean, he had 3 touchdowns by himself. One he threw, obviously, and another 2 he ran in by himself. But both the quarterbacks owned this game. Mahomes on the other side too with the Chiefs. I mean, you saw him scrambling for yards. You saw him making plays with his arms. You saw him make a ridiculous throw to Thornton. It was just insanity. Trevor Lawrence wanted to dive for the end zone. The ball gets punched out.
The fumble took place in the first half.
So long story short, but from a standpoint of who made the play of the game, this was the Jacksonville Jaguars with the unbelievable 99-yard interception return for a
Devin
touchdown.
Lloyd.
Devin Lloyd played that perfectly. The commentators were saying that he had ran up to fake a blitz, dropped in coverage right after that perfectly, and Mahomes never saw him. And I thought he was going to get tackled, but no, he just kept going. It
He
was
made 3 guys miss. He broke a tackle, he juked a guy, and then broke another tackle. I mean, shades of James Harrison, maybe?
maybe. For a
It was
linebacker,
unbelievable. It's
I
one of the
give it
greatest
to him.
plays I've ever seen. It really was.
Oh yeah, 99 yards. It was just insane. But excellent win for the Jaguars. The Chiefs, they'll rebound from this, but you got to give it to the Jaguars in Duval City, right? They'll be
Ah,
just as happy with this win. 4-1, tied in the AFC South. So, what are your takes?
Jacksonville's the city, Duval is the county, but it was an unbelievable game. To touch on some of the points you made, so we started off with both teams actually punted, so it was a little bit of a boring start, and Jacksonville went 3 down their first 2 possessions, but on Kansas City's second possession, they marched down the field and scored a touchdown, and the Jaguars then responded, get down the 1-yard line, 4th and goal, and you mentioned it, Trevor Lawrence tried to do the Drew Brees and stick the ball over the plane, and what a play by Nick Bolton to punch it out, force the fumble. George Karlaftis recovers, and the Chiefs drive 97 yards for a touchdown, as you said, and all of a sudden they're 14-0. Tyler Huntley had a play like that a few years ago in a wild card game against the Bengals when he was quarterback in the Ravens with Lamar Jackson hurting out, and it was actually picked up
Oh,
and returned for a touchdown and cost the Ravens that game and
I
their
remember
season
that.
ultimately. Yeah, so it's a little bit similar to that. But yeah, it was crazy. Let's give credit to the Jaguars, though. They did respond and come back down the field and get a touchdown. And you mentioned it. Both quarterbacks ran the ball really well. They both had over 50 yards rushing. They both had touchdown runs.
hmm
Trevor Lawrence, of course, had the second one to win the game at the end. And I want to touch on the interception you mentioned with Trevor Lawrence, which came in the fourth quarter, I believe, early in the fourth quarter, because it was pass interference. That was blatant pass interference. Should have been called. The interception should not have taken place. Kareem Hunt immediately had a touchdown run. He then had another touchdown run later on to give the Chiefs the lead with 1:45 left. The Jaguars did tie the game at 14, just to go back and touch on that. And to go back a little bit, in the start of the second half, the Chiefs had the ball to start the second half, and the Chiefs' final drive of the first half and first drive of the second half, after they'd had those back-to-back touchdown drives, the second being the 97-yarder, of course, got stopped in their first drive. Next 2 touchdowns, next 2 end of the first half, beginning the second half. The Jaguars' defense stepped up without Trayvon Walker and stopped them. And Jacksonville got the ball back and drove the ball down the field and scored a touchdown. So they were looking good. The difference in the game was plain simple. The Jaguars had a field goal and the Chiefs did not. They didn't attempt one. They were never in position to do so. But that wound up being the difference because you're right. Both defense had a takeaway on the goal line. I mean, it was just nuts. I wish that the pass interference had been called so we didn't see the interception, but then we wouldn't have gotten the fantastic ending The Chiefs mess up. They kick the ball out of bounds on the kickoff, so the Jaguars get the ball on
Yeah,
the 40. They march down the field, and then the craziest play ensues. There's under 30 seconds left. The
I know
right
which one
guard
you're going with.
steps on Trevor Lawrence's right foot, so he stumbles and falls. He's laying on the ground. Credit to the offensive line for continuing to hold up and blocking him,
Seriously.
not allowing the pressure to get there. Trevor Lawrence tries to get up, and he stumbles and can't get up, falls again. Then he does manage to get up. And next thing you know, it's chaos. The Chiefs defenders scrambling to get to him are running each other over. He's breaking tackles and diving into the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown with, 23 seconds left, I believe it was exactly. I mean, it was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, the Devin Lloyd play is one of the greatest plays I've ever seen. Devin, 99-yard pick six, and you read it so perfectly and undercut the route against Patrick Mahomes and run the ball back, and as I said,
Yeah.
break a tackle, make another guy miss juking him, and then break another tackle to get that touchdown. That was incredible. But we saw another unbelievable play by Jacksonville. I mean, what it took for them to win this game, to overcome the injuries up front on offense and Trayvon Walker on defense, who missed the entire game, and find a way with two spectacular plays to win it, to overcome the missed PI call that led to an interception that led to a touchdown. I mean, wow. And that stadium was going nuts at Everbank Stadium. It was awesome. The atmosphere was great. I mean, it was crazy. It was great. I do have to
Yeah,
mention one more thing to
go
touch on
ahead,
really
go
quick.
ahead.
Because you talked about how great of a game Patrick Mahomes had, and he did make some spectacular plays, as he usually does.
He
was
did.
great running. But there's one play when he showed my frustration with Patrick Mahomes where he had Tyler Thornton running a seam route, and the cornerback
Oh,
was between him and Hollywood Brown, who ran a deep in. And the cornerback left Hollywood Brown, because there was another cornerback underneath, and went to double team Tyler Thornton in the seam route because of his speed. Man, all three of those Chiefs wide receivers are so fast. They all run sub 4.2. I mean, and Juju Smith-Schuster is older now, but early in his career with the Steelers, he was so fast. I mean, he was a burner
and he
the
was
first couple of
fast
years.
too.
And get Rashee Rice back. I mean, man, that's terrifying, the speed
Yeah.
they have. And I mean, we talked that they don't have
Xavier
Tyreek Hill or
Worthy.
Paul Hardman anymore, but they used to have those guys with, speed kills, and now they've got these guys. It's incredible. But he chose to force the ball like he always does down the field and throw the seam route to Tyler Thornton, which the cornerback broke up incomplete. Hollywood Brown was wide open on the deep end. They ultimately punt. I mean, you have to throw the ball to the wide open guy, even if the route's more underneath. Make the play. Take what's there. He constantly does this. He wants to force the ball down the field and not take
Yeah.
what's there if it's at all underneath. But it was a deep in. It would have been a huge gain. It was a huge mistake on his part. So that did frustrate me, and I feel like it cost the Chiefs the game ultimately. But
Yeah,
the Jaguars were
there.
better on this night. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think a great way to look at this game, and I'll have one comment for the last play that you talked about because that was outstanding. I think the
The Trevor
Chiefs
Lawrence
ultimately,
run, you mean?
huh?
The game-winning touchdown
Yeah.
you referred to?
hmm
Okay.
I think the Chiefs ultimately should have won this game. They had the better
Wow.
players. They had
Interesting. Okay.
more, in my opinion, they should have won this game. They had the chances to close the door early too. Now, Jacksonville just fought the whole entire way. David versus Goliath. David won in this battle against Goliath. But you're right. Mahomes had his two faults. If he wasn't, I don't want to say egregious or over cocky and taking what's given to him, some of these drives that, the Jacksonville Jaguars had would have never have happened because he would have kept extending the drive. And number two, that pick, because that pick reminded me a lot of the Russell Wilson
Malcolm
interception
Butler. I thought
on
the
the
same
Super
thing.
Bowl.
I thought two
Literally, I'm
infamous
just
Super Bowl
like,
plays, James Harrison and Malcolm Butler, two of the
because
greatest plays in Super Bowl history, and I thought both. I thought the same thing.
when you are at that goal line area, a lot of quarterbacks say it. I don't know if the commentators might have said it, but you have to look off the linebacker. You just can't like assume that he's blitzing and then assume that he's not going to fall out. Like you have to look him off. Like you have to be able to see, okay, is he coming back out or not? And he didn't, and he got caught with his assumption. So, tough loss for the Chiefs, whatever.
Can
But
I
that
can I
last
go back
play,
to that? Can I touch on
sure,
that play
you
you're
can.
referring to before you move to the next one? I actually don't agree with you because, and to touch on the full picture, the Malcolm Butler play in the Super Bowl, Russell Wilson dropped back and immediately threw the ball on the slant. It was a quick slant. That was the goal of the play. He didn't read, and that's typical Russell Wilson. He's a run and read quarterback, always has been. This play with Patrick Mahomes, he was doing his typical Patrick Mahomes thing where he was extending the play. It had taken time to develop. We were seconds into the play at that point. That wasn't his first read. He found a guy who was open in the end zone, And so it wasn't
Fair
like he
enough.
immediately dropped back and was looking off the defender making the play. He'd been
Fair enough.
improvising, and so he needed to get the ball out quickly because the pressure at that point in time was coming. It's still 100% his fault. You're absolutely right about that. You are spot on with that. But the way it played on the circumstances and why it's his fault
Fair
are a
enough.
little bit different than I feel the way you're explaining it. But go ahead with the
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence play because
Fair
that was
enough.
great.
That's a great POV too. That's a great point of view. But no, I thought the last play of the game where Trevor Lawrence won it, didn't that not remind you of the way that the longest yard had ended when they brought in the old guy in, and then they had both the quarterbacks, and all you see is Adam Sandler run to the end zone, and he's barely getting in. I thought that was the same exact ending with Trevor Lawrence. He's stumbling and rumbling, like all I can think about is Berman on the college and saying that, and
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence gets in and the stadium gets excited. That was a flashback for me, but just an awesome, awesome game. What a great way for it to end on Monday night. I mean, Jacksonville, man, they keep impressing. There's one stat, and I'll leave it to you if you want to piggyback any more else on this game. I think Aikman and Buck said it best. The Jacksonville Jaguars, while they may not have the best defense overall, they have, I believe, the number one or their top three in takeaways so far this year, which is absolutely insane. And they did it again. Like their momentum of creating opportunities for their defense to be able to have that pick, that long 99-yard pick six, is just, it shows that the culture in the Jacksonville Jaguars this year has officially changed for the good so far through 5 games. Anything else?
Yeah, I'll throw one more stat out there to close it out. The Jacksonville Jaguars, prior to this game last night, had lost 8 straight games to the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time they had beaten them was 16 years ago in 2009. They played each other eight
That's
times for the
insane.
next decade and a half, all of the 2010s and the early
It's
2020s.
insane.
And so most of those 15 years, they played each other at least once, and the Chiefs won. Actually, I think one may have been a playoff game. I could be wrong on that. I don't think that's the case. Either way, they played each other 8 times. The Chiefs were 8-0, and obviously for most of those years outside of 2011 and 12, the Chiefs have had great teams, and the Jaguars, for the most part, outside of 2017 when they came so close to the Super Bowl right before this Chiefs dynasty started the next year, and then
Right.
2021 or 22, whichever one of those years, 21 the last time the Jaguars made the playoffs, I believe, when they had the crazy comeback against the Chargers. But outside of those 2 seasons, the Jaguars have been horrible the past decade and a half. So
You're right.
it's
Blake Bortles era.
that was 2017. Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback in the next one. But that was the team that came up just short against the Patriots in the AFC Championship
The
and
Super
almost
Bowl.
went to the Super Bowl. Yeah. But so that's you can understand why it's been 8-0 over the past 15 years for the Chiefs against the Jaguars, but to end a 16-year streak to them, and I mean you got to go back again to 2009, the end of the 2000s.
That's
last time they beat
insane.
the Chiefs. So
That's
credit
insane.
a big deal for the Jaguars. You said it, the David Goliath thing, which maybe this year that won't be the case, but based on what we've seen for the past decade and a half, it's definitely the case. So credit to the Jaguars for actually beating the Chiefs, and you love for
Absolutely.
those fans. They were ready to go from the moment that game started. They were so bad in recent years, including last year when they were 4-13, and they lost a lot of close games. I think 9 of their 13 losses were one possession losses. I think all their wins were one possession games as well. But they were ready to go. They were so excited to actually have Monday Night Football, to get to play the juggernaut Chiefs, and then they beat them. It
Travis
was
Hunter
awesome.
too, man. He was ready to go on the biggest
Yeah.
stage too. He had that one
Yeah,
crazy catch
that
where he got
catch,
propeller
yeah.
like a helicopter.
That was the guy
Oh
we saw in
my,
college. He did that so often in college, going up and making those spectacular catches. And he had some moments on
seriously, man.
defense as well. So, hey, it was an extremely entertaining game. Great game. Great game. And we
Yes,
love
it
to see
was.
it. And we look forward to more. And we will be back with plenty more, guys. We know NHL is getting underway tonight, so we will be back to talk about that. Obviously, we'll be back to talk about plenty more NFL, college football, football overall. And, of course, we'll be talking some MLB postseason and NBA just a couple weeks away. So tune back in with us. For Nelson Jordan, I'm Chris Nelson. This has been the First and Final Word.